Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review of Sisters. Let's jump right into it. We are on season 6, episode 14. I forgot the title. My bad, I forgot to write it down. Whatever. Anyway, we're gonna jump back into where we left off at the end of episode 13. Last episode, Zach showed up to Heather's apartment to check on little baby Michael and realized that her boyfriend or whoever the guy is, this guy has been beating, abusing this baby. And so he could not compose himself. He kicks in the door and he is now commencing to whooping dude's ass, which you can't be mad about. And so Fatima's yelling, stop, get off of him, get off of him, get off of him. And miraculously, two other dudes from down the hall or somewhere else in the building come rushing in, and now all three of them are jumping Zach. And Fatima is not one to sit around and, be a damsel and let that happen. And so she pulls out the PM, right? And she fires off a warning shot inside the apartment. And so while she got those dudes over there frazzled from the warning shot, Zach's getting his son like, hey, Mike, come out. It's your dad. We finna get up out of here. Fatima lines the three dudes up. She says, hey, do y'all know who I am? Do y'all have any idea who I am? And they don't know who she is. They don't know who she's related to. Obviously, because they wouldn't have, tried something so dumb had they known. She tells them roll up their sleeves. My presumption is to get their names, which are tattooed on them. That's the only thing that I would presume. Or they have a tattoo that is significant to one group in particular. So I'm going to say name because she calls the guy's name, which means she found it out somehow. I don't know. I'm just making presumptions at this point. Either way, she makes them roll their sleeves up. She knows who they're affiliated with, and so she makes a phone call while they're still there on scene, and tells the person on the other end, like, hey, Mr. J, this guy that goes by J Bones or whatever his name is, he's over here being a problem, and I need that handled. And so Mr. J Bone, then his phone rings once Fatima's done with her call, and he's shaken up by whoever's on the other end of the line. And meanwhile, she's still talking to baby boy Michael and telling him that everything's going to be fine. I'm Fatima. This is your dad. We're going to get you up out of here. Nothing else is going to happen to you. And so Mr. Bones seems, again, he's shaken by the conversation and apologizes to Fatima, which we're going to presume, Madam from the All the Queen's Men series, which is the crime boss lady. Maybe he works for her or he's a part of her. He is afraid of the power that she has. Not really sure what the dynamic is. I'm sure they're going to tell us at some point, maybe not, but we're just going to have to presume at this point that maybe he works for her and he didn't know who Michael and Fatima were and kind of went too far. So now he has to atone for it. Either way, he apologized to Fatima, and she's like, listen, I'm not the one that you need to be apologizing to. You need to get to it. But I'm going to further presume that it was not Zach that he owed an apology. It would be Madam, or the henchmen that are going to come beat their asses here soon, because he doesn't apologize to Zach as Zach is leaving. So we're going to say that, don't apologize to me, apologize to Madam because you went too far, and now you need to do what you need to do to save your own life because you forgot who you was fooling with. All right, so they're now leaving, and the nosy neighbor's like, she had called the cops. She called the cops because she thought she heard a gunshot or whatever. And Zach is trying to cover. He's like, no, you didn't hear anything. She's lived in that neighborhood long enough to know, like, listen, it was a gunshot, but hell, she also knows the neighborhood enough to know that they ain't coming. So y'all good. Go ahead and get up out of here. As they're leaving, about 30 to 40 dudes in all black show up, some with weapons in hand, some with not, and they immediately head upstairs to where Mr. J Bones and his two associates are still looking dumbfounded. And Zach, at this point, he is rushing. Y'all heard me getting the car. We got to go because he knows that something's about to happen that he don't want to bear witness to. So it's time to get out of Dodge. It's time to leave the scene of the crime because it's about to get real thick, and we'll pick up with that later in the episode. We jump to Andy and her Tinder date or Bumble, whatever site she was on, child. I don't know nothing about them. But I'm just going to say Tinder. She picks up her date. And, they're enjoying each other. They're having so much so that their 1 hour date has turned into 3 hours. And it's time to break the party up, time to go home because it's getting late. We got work tomorrow. We middle-aged 30-something-year-olds. It's time to go home and get some rest of work tomorrow. And he tells her, like, listen, let's play a little joke on our friends. Wait, we'll get back to that. He tells her that I really want to kiss you right now, but I want a slow burning fire as opposed to a quick flame. You know, it's giving very much Romeo and Juliet, and it didn't give me the all that it would probably give everybody else because, all right, sir, how poetic on the first date, sure, whatever. But that's just the cynical in me. It didn't read terribly romantic for me, but it's Andy, and it obviously just made her cool a little bit on the inside, I'm sure. Moving right along, Zach asked Fatima, like, hey, what happened back at that apartment? Like, you made a phone call and that don't look good. And she's like, listen, I don't like calling my family. I don't like calling my cousin for backup. But the people that showed up were the Black Rock Boys, and the Black Rock Boys are led by Madam, again, from the All the Queen's Men, her series. Her dad used to be in charge of the Black Rock Boys and a local gang. Her dad is now, pretending to be in dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever to avoid prison time because of his crimes. And so now she has to manage the gang while her dad is in his pretend state of mind. And so though the Black Rock Boys have come there to atone for Mr. J Bones and his friends putting their hands on Michael and, causing grief for Fatima and her little instant family that we're not a part of. Now, I can't definitively say whether those guys are Black Rock Boys as well, but the Black Rock Boys are going to take care of it at this point. All right. And we can further assume, I'm sorry, I read my notes because I write my notes as the episodes go on. But anyway, we can also presume, because she does also mention in this scene, like, hey, those are the Black Rock Boys. My cousin leads them or whatever, and they know better than that. So she knows them well enough to know. She may not know them personally, but maybe by their identifying tattoos or whatever, she knows, oh, you're a Black Rock boy and you did this to me and my family, not knowing who my cousin was. You know better than that. So now you need to fight for your life, basically. And I'm not mad at it. If y'all see a light shining, I can't sit square in front of my window that I normally sit to because it's a sheer curtain here and the sun is like shining directly on me and it's hurt my eyes. So I'm off to the side, just in case anything looks different. And so, Zach, you're asking too many questions. He also asked her, like, hey, what's gonna come of these people? And she's like, listen, it don't matter. It's not my business. The less we know, the better. So it's given, what people? I was never here, like nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. My family's gonna take care of it and we're good to go. But she's also kind of dumbfounded at the fact that, and she can't wrap her mind around the fact that somebody could be so horrible to a child. And then she also recalls Zach saying, like, hey, his childhood was a lot like Michael's, by way of Heather and his mother having the neglect in common. And she, further feels sad for not only Michael, but gets a better understanding of Zach and how he ended up, with the emotional damage and the trauma that he has to carry. And he doesn't want to get into the crying and get into the emotions of it right now because, we still got to deal with Michael and get him settled. So we're just going to move on. He doesn't think that she did anything awful by calling in reinforcements because, you're beating the living hell out of my child. Any child for that fact. I don't understand. And, neither do I, Fatima. Just me. I also would not have been able to leave that child in that situation. And I know from personal experience that I have had to be an action item when noticing, certain neglectful behavior that has happened, taking place, with kids. Not so much this instance particularly, but I know what it feels like to have to call in assistance. You don't be wanting to, but you have to for the sake of the child because the child is absolutely helpless and don't ask for what comes from their parents. So as another adult, it's just my mission. It just is my call. Everybody's not called to action. I am, and whatever comes of it, whatever ramifications that end up happening for me, it's always a risk I'm willing to take. It is what it is. I'm a big girl. I'm grown, so don't know why I wanted to add that, but I could relate. I could definitely understand having to call in reinforcements. Not Fatima's type of reinforcements now. So don't get it twisted. Not those type of reinforcements. But as far as, calling in some help to get somebody to get parents to get some act right about them. That's the long and the short. All right. So we're going to move right along. Andy and her date decide to trick the girls and their guys because, they've been talking to each other's friends and trick them and tell them that they had a horrible date. I'm ready to go. He was horrible. She was talking about herself the whole time, just playing a little joke on their friends, whatever. They finally let them in on the joke, and then the men go to asking for second dates. Pretty much everybody gets shot down except Andy's date. And then all the gentlemen ask the girls, like, hey, I'll cook you Andy's date. I don't remember any of those dudes' names. Andy's date says, hey, I cook a really good dinner. So if I cook a dinner, all of you can come, and then all of my friends and I can come, and we could, just for comfort's sake, that way we can all have a pseudo second date. And it will be low threat. And everybody's like, okay, cool. One dude suggests, like, hey, we've all been drinking a lot. Let's just take the bus to get home, just for safety's sake. We can make sure y'all get home. Everything is good. Now, by the end of the episode, all of that would have been for naught because you didn't see them home. But, we're going to go with the thrill of it just for the sake of the review. Moving on. So, the dude suggests they take the bus. Everybody else is kind of hemming and hawing. Some people, have experience with the busing system or whatever. I have no personal experience with, the public transit system and how that works, or what the hesitation or what the agreement would have been like. But it turns out, everybody's kind of, okay, sure, if you do it, I'm gonna do it. Sure, not a problem. Andy is the only one, like her bourgeois is seeping over, and she just can't fathom. She can't fathom the fact that she might have to ride the bus, but she want to, keep the good times rolling. She don't want to be a party pooper. We're extending the day a little bit longer, so she gonna go through to get through to get the night over with, because she's having a conniption about it, and she will continue to have a conniption about it until they get in the Uber or the car service to go home. But we'll get into that when we get to that part of the episode. Hayden is feverishly calling Tamara. I mean, back to back to back. This dude is still wearing his wedding band. He is texting. Gary shows up to get some paperwork. I think it's the annulment paperwork that she signed. Can't quite remember. But and Gary realizes, like, this guy's really smitten with Tamara, and it's serious, and he's a little worried about his boy. And he tells Gary, like, listen, I went by her house and she ain't answer. And Gary's like, you ain't breaking that lady's house, did you? He's like, no, I ain't that obsessed, but you really are. But and Gary realizes that he's really smitten with her, and Gary tells him, like, listen, she's gone now. We can move on. You can wash your hands. Maybe you dodged your bullet. And he is not interested in hearing it. Hayden ain't having it and tells Gary. So he wants to bring Gary back down to, our stalker levels, since you think you're so high and mighty, because you think you're over Andy. And then he tells Gary, like, listen, while you worried about me and Miss Tamara, Andy's over here on a date. And I overheard her tell Fatima that she's gone out with somebody from the office, which you still eavesdropping. You ain't learned. You ain't learned about your business yet. Anyway, and he knows that Gary is about to go out looking for Andy. And so at this point, they're both giving very much pathetic stalkers. And Hayden tells Gary, like, listen, I can show you her matches on her dating profile. I was able to hack in or whatever, and I'll show you. Now, he doesn't take the bait, but we know that Gary has enough connections to figure out who the date is, where he lives, what's going on, all that great stuff. So you're not honorable in not looking at what Hayden has pulled up, because you have the resources to find it out anyway in another 5 minutes once you leave his house. What was interesting about this scene is the fact that Gary seems to think that him and Hayden are not two leaves off the same tree. I think he thinks that because he got a little bit more bucks, he got a little bit more bang than he can get for his bucks by way of buying Andy a penthouse, being able to be connected to such high and mighty people, and by way of being able to buy her rose. Like he has more available capital than maybe a Hayden, but at the very core of things, you're still a stalker. You still don't understand no, and you still want to be in control of this lady. Now, your victim is a bit more long term, Andy. Hayden has moved on to another thing to be obsessed with by way of leaving Fatima alone because you know she's willing to take you off the earth. Now Tamara is now your substitute, but both of y'all in the same boat, Gary. Just in case you thought you were so much more special, because some people do think that because your bank account is a bit longer, that makes your obsession a little less crazy, but it still is, in case you were wondering. Moving right along, Pam calls Karen and tells her, like, I'm short on money. Shit getting tight around here. And she's like, girl, you just got paid. And she's like, yeah, but I'm still 2 weeks short on said paycheck and rent coming due. And I'm not trying to force you. I've been loyal thus far, but I may have to take another job. And Karen's like, okay, girl, do what you have to do. I mean, the shop is still closed. What do you want from me? And it's given like you're going to have to take somebody up on their monetary offers soon because your employees are not getting paid. And while Pam and other people are probably not operating in the traditional sense as far as like her being your secretary, she was there, helping with the cleanup and different things. You still pay people for their time. And had you taken the money and not been on your high horse and taking the money, hell, I took the money from Zach and from Aaron and just paid them back on the back end and paid my loyal employees on the front end just because, it was nobody's fault. And you value these people and you have a means to an end, if that makes sense. Like you had the money in hand and you rip up the check because of your ego. So you did not have to be in a position for your employees to have to potentially take another job, because now if they take another job when the shop does eventually open, you don't have the staff on hand, and you already know the staff, you already trust the staff. So I personally would have done everything that I could to keep them on hand. Now I feel like, a caveat could be, okay, well, her shop burned down, give her some grace. I hear that. If Karen was not in a current state of obsession when it comes to doing everything to take down Zach and to get in his situation, focus on your business and you could better figure out how to take care of your people and yourself, but you're so worried about Zach. So it ain't much grace that's going to be able to fit in there for you. All right, moving right along. I said they finally catch the bus, and they're standing at the bus stop, and Andy is the only person that's looking as if like somebody's about to mug her in any second now. She's like frightened, and we learn a little bit more about her connection and what might be triggering about the bus system on the ride. Which, okay, we'll get to it because I don't know if this is making sense. It's not adding up, but whatever. They finally get in the bus and they're talking, everybody's small talking, and she tells her dad about the busing system. So I guess her and her mom rode the bus often when she was a kid. Her mom they would ride the bus to get her to school. And then her mom would get back on the bus, go back home and ride again. Like her mom had 2 jobs. And then he was like, oh, like a single parent situation. She was like, no. My dad was still around. They both kind of worked a lot, like working class people. They worked multiple jobs. They rode the bus all the time. Just the hustle and bustle of her parents having to work to make ends meet, I guess, is what was kind of re-traumatizing for her, because I guess the bus meant struggle. I'm just interpreting. I ain't nobody's professional. Her mom also had to work 2 jobs and be on the busing system, and her dad had to work multiple jobs for the busing system. And so I guess the bus has a negative connotation as it relates to means. And I said that because there's mention of her Rolls Royce before they get on there. And that kind of ties to like a classism type of thing. You equate the bus to hard work and struggle and maybe things that you may have missed out on by way of your parents working all the time. And so riding this bus is like kind of taking you back to that time, that place, and you don't want to be there. And that's okay. But I think you need to speak with somebody. Well, girl, it's a TV show, ain't a real person. But you should speak to somebody about that because you were triggered. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Girl, I ain't no damn psychologist. I'm just trying to make sense of the doggone thing because I don't see, like, I've never had to ride the bus. I'm country. I'm a country system, you know. We had an old Beta. A Beta is like, you know, an old substandard car. You know, you might have had to push start that motherfucker with your feet every now and again, but we never had to ride the bus, so I don't know the busing system. But I know that there are certain things for me that would trigger um when we didn't have, and so I would avoid them. For example, I'm gonna give you an example. Give you my own personal example. Not too much of my business, but um, peanut butter. I do not eat peanut butter as an adult. I I will not purchase peanut butter. Don't want to smell peanut butter. Peanut butter reminds me of struggle, right? It's also disgusting. It's one of those things like when you eat it growing up in I don't consider my childhood poverty, but for the sake of the example, growing up in pseudo poverty, um, peanut butter was inexpensive, so it accompanied many meals. Peanut butter and jelly, peanut butter and syrup, peanut butter on a naked spoon by itself. It was one of those staple struggle meals, air quote, you know, for lack of a better term. And so as an adult, it's one of those things like I ate it so much during that time period, I refuse to eat it now. It's disgusting. I hate it. And so that is kind of where I went in my mind when I thought about, okay, it's not the actual busing system that she might be afraid of. It's the I don't want to be broke no more type thing that she might be having to deal with. And she kind of further confirms that when she tells him about her dad, like her dad is no longer with us, but she does do everything she can to still look after her mom, to still be, you know, a financial support to her mom. And so this bus is that symbolism. Like, listen, I don't want to be broke no more. I don't want to do broke stuff no more. And which is fair, which is reasonable. I wouldn't call it bougie. I would just call it, you know, triggering. That's all I had to say there. I wouldn't call it bougie. I would just call it triggering. Like, you know, again, in my own personal example, not giving y'all too much of my business, but I drive a luxury vehicle. And, you know, when people see it, it's like, oh, you big money, you big money. Nope. I still got to pay them people every month like y'all. It's just my state of comfortability. It's the life that I've created for myself. Now, if I have to go back to a 96 Ford Tempo like I used to have with only one window rolled down, I have no shame in doing so if life puts me back there. But I work hard enough where hopefully I never have to get back to that situation. Get off your soapbox, girl. Okay, back to the review. All right, that's enough of my business for one episode. All right. So, you know, we talked about that. We're riding the bus, we're small talking. The guys are talking and, you know, they get to reminiscing about their basketball coach. I don't remember how they got there because it was 11 o'clock at night. I was getting sleepy. Either way, they tell this great story about their basketball coach and his advice to them to, you know, be good people, be good men, and to treat, you know, their black women right. Or he would haunt them forever. And it was heartfelt because he was dying and his wife took it upon himself to bring all of his students to the gym, and he gave them like a final speech, you know what I mean, as their coach, letting them know like, hey, yes, I'm dying, but don't feel bad for me. This is your advice for you to continue living your life and to be good men. And so that was just a little sweet moment that they shared, and it gave more insight into them being good friends and potentially being decent men, hopefully to be determined. Like the rose thing that they did when they were waiting on the bus, the little rose situation they did gave very much corny, and it gave very much like Shy Brother. Like if y'all ever seen the Temptations where they already have a predetermined speech that they use or actions that they use to get women. It gave me that a little bit, but I guess the story made up for it. So we're gonna say they're good guys for right now. And it's also not very likely that, three best friends are going to find three other best friends and everybody be good people. So, to be determined. All right, so the bus stops abruptly, and the bus driver tells him, like, listen, this is the last stop. Y'all gotta get outside of whatever. Because while I have not rode like the public transit system, I have rode the school bus before, like getting back and forth to public schools. And I fell asleep on the bus before, and nobody bothered to wake me up, like sitting at the back of the bus, trying to be a cool kid, sitting at the back of the bus, and nobody told me I missed my stop. And you wake up and you at the bus show, are you looking like, what the hell is going on? Like, this bus is parked back at the school, and the bus driver's looking like, girl, why are you on this bus? And I was like, sir, I was asleep. Now we at the last stop. He back at the bus depot, and you got to take my black ass back home. And you gotta take my black ass all the way back home because I done fell asleep on the bus. And so that memory came up for me. It was hilarious. I'm sorry. Anyway, so the bus driver tells me, listen, I'm tired. This is the last stop of the evening. The next place you're gonna be is back at the bus yard. So either you get off or you go home with me. Like, get off the bus. We're done. And so now Andy is triggered. She's like, off the bus? Like, where are we at? We don't know nobody. And the dudes are like, calm down. We're gonna get y'all home. Just chill, little mama. Y'all calm down. We got this. And I would have panicked too because y'all said we was riding this bus to get us home. We're in the middle of Chattahoochee nowhere. What's the plan? Y'all had the plan. Y'all the man with the plan. What's the plan? And they didn't really have a plan. They were just kind of playing it by ear. And I understand, spontaneity and playing it by ear, but not at the sake of my safety, my boy. Not at the sake. Like, y'all just offered up the bus with no end goal. What was just gonna ride the shit into oblivion? Where was we going? Who knows? Either way, now they gotta find their way home, and Andy is immediately pissed. Like, Sabrina and Danny are just like, all right, we'll call her out. We'll figure it out. Whatever. Andy is pissed. Now she feels like her whole night is ruined. She ain't had no fun. She mad. She's like, she has immediately called a ride share for her and her girls, and the men are like, what are we supposed to do? She's like, listen, y'all grown ass men, y'all figure it out. Like, get home the best way you can. While I understand, I agree and I disagree with the statement because, girl, y'all been thugging, y'all been riding all night. You was already calling the car while everybody else was still making the discussion. You could have considered them three people, like, just out of common courtesy. Not on no, like, oh, you a man, make your own way type thing, but common courtesy. Well, hell, I'm already calling the car. 3 more seats won't kill me. Like, you already had a solution while the other 5 people were already still talking. Also, on the other side of the coin, y'all planned this date. I was about to go get in my car when we was at the restaurant. I told y'all I was good to drive. Y'all sisters are riding the bus to get us home, and we ain't home. And we out in the middle of a place that is unfamiliar for me at night. I have on my nice good clothes and my nice Louis Vuitton bag. So what the hell we about to do? Y'all got it, my boys. Because y'all over here planning and you didn't see it through. So I'm going to go ahead and finish out the night and I'm going to holler at y'all later. I mean, it is my first time meeting y'all. So I can see both sides of the coin. But I mean, I'd have just added the extra seats, child. It wouldn't have done me no harm. Unless, drop them off first so they don't know where you live just as a safety precaution. But whatever. All right, so they left the men to their own devices. As they're walking towards the ride share, Sabrina agrees to another date with her interests. Danny's still like, listen, you already know about Preston because obviously you've been eavesdropping on my calls long enough, so I see you at work. Whatever. Andy tells her date, like, she was already down for a second date, but now she's like, yeah, I'll let you know. Whatever. I'll holler at you. Like, don't call me, I'll call you type energy. And so the girls are chatting as they walk into the car, and they're kind of dumbfounded that they just experienced 3, very nice gentlemen that seemed thoroughly interested. Just a different experience with the guys. So it was a different change of pace than what they were used to. So, it was what it was for the most part. All right, Fatima and Zach are in the store buying things for baby Michael because he has been so neglected and so untaken care of. He is rancid with odor and they need to get this baby cleaned up. He looks to be a bigger kid, like 5 or 6, and they have to get him diapers. Like he's just uncared for. That's just really the long and the short. And they bump into Karen. And when Karen turned the phone, I just threw my hands up. I said, man, goddamn. Man, shit. It's going to be another interaction between these people. And it is draining. It's draining me. Today, drained me. Insert the meme of Marlo from Atlanta Housewives. But, so of course she going to show her ass in the next episode. In the previews for next episode, we see Fatima finding something on Michael's back, which we're going to presume are scars or whips or welts, which are going to be another trigger that's really going to piss me off. We see Danny smiling at her phone and Preston looking over her shoulder, so that's going to be another hitch when they just got things figured out. And Heather is going to be in tow to Zach's house with the police in tow. I'm sure that's not going to go to her advantage, especially with everything that's happened this evening, but we'll figure that out in the next episode. And that has been it for season 6, episode 14. Let me know what you think about the episode. Not much to say here. I pretty much said it all, told too much of my business, but we'll talk about it in the next episode. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.